Welcome to the medieval castle, a fortress, a home for hundreds, and a symbol of authority that dominated the landscape of the Middle Ages. But what was life really like behind those imposing walls? Today we take you on a journey back in time to uncover the secrets of medieval castle life. First, let's understand our setting. Medieval castles were architectural marvels designed for defence, status, function, and control. Each feature of the castle had a purpose. The keep, often the most fortified area, served as the last line of defence and the lord's residence. Within its thick walls, the lord's family lived and valuables were stored. It was a symbol of lordly power and a refuge during sieges. The moats were water-filled ditches surrounding the castle and served as a formidable barrier against attackers. They hindered the advance of siege towers and ladders, making direct assaults more challenging and providing a psychological edge in defence. The drawbridge was a retractable bridge over the moat, acting as the main entrance to the castle. It could be quickly raised to prevent entry during an attack, cutting off access to potential invaders and securing the castle's inhabitants. The battlements were the notched parapets at the top of walls and towers, providing cover for defenders. Soldiers could hide behind the crenellations to shoot arrows or hurl missiles at attackers, minimizing their exposure to enemy fire. The Gatehouse was the fortified entrance to the castle, often equipped with portcullises and murder holes. It was a key point of defence, controlling the access and providing a deadly trap for attackers who made it past the drawbridge. The towers extended above the walls, offering vantage points for archers and lookouts. They were strategic for spotting approaching enemies and directing the defence of the castle's perimeter. The courtyard, or bailey, was an open area within the castle walls where daily activities took place. It housed workshops, kitchens and barracks, serving as the castle's functional heart where the inhabitants lived and worked. Below the splendour and daily bustle of the castle lay a darker world, the dungeons. These were not just for prisoners of war, but also for anyone who fell out of favour with the Lord's justice. Dungeons, or prison cells, were often located in the lower parts of the keep or in the gatehouse, and were a stark reminder of the Lord's power over life and death. The mere mention of the dungeon was often enough to maintain order within the castle's domain. How many people lived in a castle varied greatly, depending on what kind of castle it was, who ran it, if trouble was expected soon, and many other things. One of the largest castles might have a population of 2,000. It would include a garrison of soldiers and specialist workers and their families living inside the walls. But there were many small castles across Europe that might only have had 20 or 40 people living in them. The knight's family, servants, and their families. Perhaps a dozen of these might be part-time men-at-arms. These castles were built for their landlord by the townspeople in the winters, when they did not need to work the land, and it might have taken 3 or 4 winters' work to build. In times of danger, some or all of the villagers would be crowded inside the castle, and the village men would also be armed. Castles were the homes of nobility, the lords and ladies who held power over the surrounding lands. Their lives were filled with responsibilities, from managing the estate to dispensing justice. But it wasn't all work. They also enjoyed lavish feasts, tournaments, and the elaborate etiquette of court life. Knights, the elite warriors of the medieval world, called a castle home as well. Bound by chivalry, a code of conduct, knights trained rigorously in the art of warfare, honing skills that were crucial in battles and tournaments. Soldiers and guardsmen also lived within the castle walls, were ready to defend their lord's domain at a moment's notice. Life in a medieval castle wasn't just for the nobility. A bustling community of craftsmen, servants and labourers kept the castle running. Blacksmiths, cooks, maids and many more. Everyone had a role. Their lives were tough, with long hours of hard work, but the castle provided them with protection and a steady livelihood. Daily life in a castle was governed by the sun. The entire household rose early at cockcrow, with chores and duties for all. But there was time for leisure too. Common pastimes for the gentlefolk and nobles included riding, hunting, hawking, drinking and feasting, board games and needlework, dancing and playing music, and watching acrobats, jugglers and jesters. Peasants and common folk didn't have much free time, but when they did, it was usually drinking and singing, storytelling, fairs, bawdiness and brawling, archery, swimming, and stool ball, an early form of cricket or rounders. It involves teams and was particularly popular among women. In a world without modern conveniences, a castle still had to deal with the basics of human nature. Enter the garderobe, the medieval toilet, located along the outer walls. These were more than just a seat over a pit. They were designed to be as comfortable as possible, often with wooden seats and sometimes even privacy screens. They were positioned over a vertical chute that often led down into a water source, like a river or moat. In locations where expelling waste into water wasn't feasible, garderobes discharged into deep pits or cesspits. These pits could be quite large and were lined with stone or wood. The waste would accumulate in the pit until it was full, at which point it would need to be emptied or covered and a new pit constructed. This task was unpleasant and often assigned to lower status workers. Because the pits were built into the thickness of the wall, the waste also served as a form of insulation, a testament to the ingenuity of medieval architecture. Castles were alive with more than just human activity. Animals were an integral part of life. Hunting dogs and falcons were prized for both sport and necessity, while oxen and horses were the engines of the medieval world. Beyond these animals, castles teemed with livestock, providing dairy, meat and wool. Cats kept the granaries free of mice, and even bears could be found in castle menageries. Pigeons were kept on the dovecote and would carry messages between castles. Each animal played a role in the self-sustaining ecosystem of the castle. Most castles included a chapel, reflecting the importance of religion in medieval life. It was a place of worship for the castle's inhabitants and a symbol of divine protection. Religious figures were a common sight in castles, serving both spiritual and advisory roles to the Lord. Chaplains led services in the castle chapel, a centre of daily life for many, ensuring that the spiritual needs of the residents were met. But life in a castle wasn't without its dangers. Castles were symbols of power, and power attracts conflict. Siege warfare was a grim reality of medieval life. During a siege, life between the castle walls became a waiting game. Supplies were rationed, and everyone from lord to labourer had to contribute to the defence. A big topic and another video. As the Middle Ages waned, so did the era of castles. The advent of gunpowder and cannons made these fortresses vulnerable. Castles gradually lost their military importance, transforming into administrative centres or falling into ruin. So what was life like in medieval castles? Quite the mixed bag. If you were a lord or lady, it was often a life of feast and finery. If you were the one cleaning out the garderobe or cesspit, not so much, but at least it was regular work. Medieval castles offer a fascinating glimpse into the past. They were both practical and symbols of brute power. They required an entire community to keep them going. As we walk through their ruins or restored halls, we walk through history, connecting with the people who lived, loved and fought in the shadow of these medieval giants.